Hey guys, and welcome back to Brexit. Brexit England, Northern Ireland, and Eastern Europe. And in Brexit England, 95% of the politicians hate the people of the UK. You're like the proverbial hole in the head that they never ever wanted, the pebble in the shoe when they're wearing their good shoes because they're going to church on Sunday. But when these people go to church, I'm surprised they don't burst into flames on the way in, because they go to church on Sunday and then on Monday morning they're there voting against the less well off. So we're going to start with Bloody Sunday, a time when the when you know the our soldiers murdered British citizens on the streets of the United Kingdom, and nobody's ever been held accountable. I mean, I think they've put one guy in court, but 30 or 40 or 50 years afterwards, after the event. At the time, nobody's been held accountable. It's always been a cover up. Hillsborough, crushing of of the innocents. The police, completely messed up on the day. There was a gate there that they could have opened, right? Or a massive gate they could have opened, and that would have taken the overspill out. But no, you know why? Because they didn't want a couple of people to get in and watch the game for free. So what they done was they let people get crushed, and then they told lies about the people, lie after lie after lie. People was being robbed while they're dead on the floor. They're saying that this is what the people of this is what they're saying the Scousers was doing, robbing the people that was on the floor. Just lie after lie after lie. This is the reason why the Sun newspaper, don't get sold in Liverpool, and why they absolutely despise the Tories, because the Tories was all well behind this. Between the media, and the government, they really, just destroyed the lives of those people, of those people at Hillsborough. And we got Grenfell Tower, right? All, how much people dead in Grenfell Tower? Dead, just like that, right? Who's been held accountable? Who's been held accountable for Hillsborough? No one. I think they had a policeman in prison a couple of years. Sorry, a policeman in court a couple of years ago over the whole Hillsborough thing. But I'm sure, because so much time has elapsed. How are you going to put people in court like 30 or 40 or 50 years later? That don't make no sense. But Grenfell Tower again. Right? No one's held accountable. I mean, they're still having the investigation now, right? The inquiry now, right? All that's happening in that year is the person who's holding the inquiry is they're just getting their bank account fat, right? Like the fatted calf. That's what's happening, right? With that, right? There's so many experts and all those things who are just getting paid. Because that's all that happens, and all that's coming out of taxpayers' expenses, right? Where all those people dead in there, and not one person ever going to go to prison or even be held accountable for what's happened there. Right? Contaminated blood. Right? They gave because they gave people contaminated blood. I think the hemophiliacs and whoever else needed blood transfusions, right? So this is what they done, right? They gave them contaminated blood that was contaminated with HIV, right? Or I should say plasma contaminated with HIV, right? Who ever got held account? Who got held to account for that? Nobody. No one got held to account for it. Brexit destroyed our economy, destroyed the working classes' freedom of movement. More than doubled our living costs overnight. Well, okay, it wasn't overnight, but our living costs has been doubled and then doubled it again. Right, if you look from the start of Brexit, destroyed our pound, destroyed so many industries, so many businesses in this country. Who's going to be held? Who's held accountable for it? No one. People are still lauding Nigel Farage, like just to say he's done something good for the country. But everything Brexit wise has been destroyed. There's been nothing good come out of Brexit. Thalidomide. They keep mentioning, right? They keep mentioning, stuff about, the blood scandal and, and Grenfell Tower. They keep mentioning, but no one mentioned thalidomide. Now, I believe thalidomide was I think it was something they gave to women for morning sickness. I don't know because I wasn't actually alive, right? But yeah, I believe that's what it was. It's something. I think that's what it was. But whatever it was, yeah, it was highly dangerous for the for the unborn babe, for the unborn child. Might have been even dangerous for the woman too, right? But who's been held accountable for that? For the midwives, right? Selling off of BP. BP sold for 6 or 7 billion to date. It's and that's just back in the late 90s and or the early noughties, right? And today it's worth nearly £100 billion. Who's been held accountable for that? Who's been held accountable? Gas, water, electric, all sold off, and we are enjoying some of the highest prices in the world for these services, right? We're swimming in raw sewage. We've got about maybe 8 to 12% of our waters in this country that is safe to swim in. Every other country, with their swimming water, every other country is up in the 80s and the 90s. Some of them even in the hundreds, some of them just 100%, because they don't allow people to put raw sewage within their waters. But when you sell off your whole country to the private sector, then this is what happens. Because you see, countries don't run, right, off of the private sector. You can't run a country like you're running a business. That doesn't work. I've been trying to tell people this for years, but you know what? Who the hell's going to listen to me? But that's the truth. You can't run a country like a business. It doesn't work. As we've seen now, as with this, the state our country's in. So you can see that from the state of our country. So you can see you cannot run a country like a business, because all of the other countries, yeah, who have got involved in our country, none of their countries are running like a business. The people who supply us with gas, water, and electric, right? Mainly like the French, the Germans, the Spanish, the Italians, whoever, right? All a lot of our services are supplied by government, just not our government. But they don't run their countries in that way. They don't. They haven't sold off all their. They haven't sold off all their water, their gas, and their electric. None of them have done that. I mean, why would they? But they've benefited because they've bought into ours, so that means that they can give their people cheaper bills, and that's what a lot of them have done. So if you're trying to run your country as a business, it's never going to work, because you have to have your utilities, your health services, right? Your education, housing, those things need to be run by socialists. You can't have them run by capitalists, because if capitalists are running them, I'll give you a simple scenario. If you need 1,000 houses, as a capitalist, you need 1,000 houses. They're going to build 950 because they want the competition. That's what they're interested in, the competition. You ask socialists to build, socialists need 1,000 houses. They're going to build 1,020 just to make sure, because they need to have everybody covered. Right? So that's the difference between those. That's the difference between, and what are we suffering from now? A lack of housing. And why? Because socialists are not involved in the housing market, and you have to have socialists involved, especially in a country full of working class people. Working class people have to be able to afford housing. You can't work your whole life, to buy a house, and then at the end of it, they take it away from you. Working class people need to have access to reasonable priced housing, whether it's to rent or whether it's to buy. Socialists, capitalists are not going to give you that. Right? Now, you see, I'll tell you what a difference between socialism and capitalism is this. It's very simple, right? In your socialist world, right, your workforce, you'll have maybe, two, three, maybe four people doing the job of one person. So that was always the problem. And when you have people looking at that and thinking, oh, look at that, right? They look at that as a complete waste. But then if you move over to your capitalists now, your capitalists they'll have one person doing the one person's job, right? But everything along the way, right, is on a tight budget, right? And they will make sure that you, as their employee, right, that you pay as much towards your employment as possible. So whether that is when you're going to your next job, you're going to your next job, right? Saying, well, you have to pay your own travel costs to get to the next job that you're going to go and do for us, but you have to pay your travel costs, as if to say that you're actually working for yourself, but you're not working for yourself, you're working for them. But that's how they work, or you got you'll have those contracts, contracts of like 3-4 hours, but you're working there every day, but your contract is only 3 or 4 hours. So that now, that's virtually what holiday pay you're entitled to, right? You might be entitled to, whatever hours you work. That's it. That's the holiday what you're entitled to. So that's how the capitalists, so in the capitalists, they've cut everything. The socialists, they've got too many workers. So it depends on what system that people want to work under. But I can tell you, the capitalist system is not working in this country, especially as they've sold everything off to the capitalist system, because capitalists and socialists, right, is systems that sort of have to work side by side, but there are things that you do not put in the hands of capitalists, right? And gas, water, electric, CO2, NHS, housing, trains, all those things should not be in the hands of capitalists. The reason why they're running so badly is because they're running by capitalists, and they have been for from since this virtually the 70s now. And look at the state that we're in. People can't afford houses. People can't afford to even feed themselves. We've got food banks all over. We've got food banks all over the country, and all of that is simply down to being run by capitalists. That's the reason why everything is so tragic in this country. Capitalism and socialism have to work together. But as I said, the capitalists cannot be allowed to get their hands on certain things in your country. And welcome back to By Any Means Necessary. Thank you so much for all your messages. Send me a special thanks to everybody who signed up to my channel. I feel so blessed with so much people that signed up. So thank you so much for that. I'll go for all your messages. I'll answer as many as I can, but I will like all the messages for definite. So what was all of that? All of those things that I listed, are things that have destroyed the working classes, along with what? The Horizon scandal. The Horizon scandal has turned massive simply because it was they had the TV program about it, and that has really shaken the government into action, because now they've taken action, and now they're going to on a blanket, they're just going to quash everyone's conviction, just one big blanket. So I think it's maybe up to 900 convictions they're just going to quash just like that, which a lot of the law society is coming out and saying, well, this is very dangerous practice, but I can't really see other ways of doing it, because other than that, they'd have to take everybody back into court individually, and a judge would have to tell them, oh, well, you know what, we're going to quash you. But our courts are so packed up at the moment, right? But see, the reason why I tell you that Horizon is just one of those things, it's because it's the working classes why it was allowed to happen to them. Because you see, when big business, when you are an individual and you got big business, for example, and you've got contracts with them, right? They treat you how they want to treat you. They can do whatever they want. For example, like look, Horizon was that is Fujitsu. Fujitsu's a billion. Fujitsu they're a £1 billion company, and they've been awarded loads more contracts in the time that our government have known that they've been doing this, trashing the working classes, trashing working class people in this country. They've known all that time, because in the time that Rishi Sunak's been in, Fujitsu have got something like £4 billion worth of contracts. They're between £5 and £7 billion worth of contracts that Fujitsu have got with our government. Even though our government tell you, how our IT industry is booming. I'm sure they said it was, there's, I can't remember which part of Britain, it's another Silicon Valley, they say. But yet for all, we have to have a company called Fujitsu. Don't sound like a British company to me. Don't sound very British to me. We have to have Fujitsu, right, making IT systems for our post office and various other government agencies. And when you're dealing with like the post office, if you say the post office are any losses, yeah, you make them up, right? Or you don't run no more post office. That's simple. Right now, yeah, a multi-billion-pound company, Fujitsu, right, who have virtually done this to all these people, right, and the government, people are having to put pressure on the government to say, listen, why aren't Fujitsu paying this bill? Why don't they pay all those people out? Because the government's offered them all 600,000 pounds or something like that. But a lot of them have got more losses than that. I think there's one payment I've heard of 75 grand, and there's another one that I've heard of 600 grand, and they take that and they had to sign a lot of paperwork or whatever, right? But why don't they go to Fujitsu and say to Fujitsu, no, listen, you're going to pay every penny of that. We're not paying any of it. Why is that not written into the contract anyway? In the same way, right, that the post office has written into, the working class people's contract, anything goes wrong, you need to make good. Why is that not written to the Fujitsus? They're getting billions. Right? Which you would think, well, you know what, you're tendering for a contract, so there's going to be other companies tendering for the contract. So in the contract, you just simply tell them, well, listen, anything goes wrong with your system, right, you have to make good. Simple. That should be in the contract. But why is it not in the contract? Because you know why? Because big business runs this country. This country, we in this country, we are just the customers. That's what we are. We're just the customers of big business, that runs this country. That's it. Nothing more. We don't have any say. We don't have any strength. We don't have any say. We do have strength if we wanted to, but that would mean so much of us actually working together. But with all the state of the culture wars and all those things there, yeah, a lot of people would look at me and think to themselves, you know something, yeah, I'd prefer to pull my own fingernails out, right, and drop a ton weight on my own foot before I work with you. That's what the truth is, right? It's just the nature of the people in this country. This is why these people are allowed to do this to the working classes. Look at the list. Bloody Sunday, Hillsborough, Grenfell Tower, contaminated blood, Brexit, thalidomide, selling off of BT, gas, water, electric, Royal Mail, trains, Horizon, all aimed at the working classes to destroy. And no one has ever been held accountable for any of those things. Any of those things. Right? These postmasters, someone, they get prison time. 22 grand gone from your post office. Yeah, well, you can go and do 9 months in prison for that. Yeah, and if you don't pay the money back, right, when you come out, then you know what, you're going to go and finish off, or you're going to go and do more time if you don't actually pay the money back. That's what these people was threatened with on a daily basis. How much of them committed suicide? How much of them attempted to commit suicide? Right, so many families completely smashed to pieces. And the only reason why the government have decided, oh, well, this is terrible, only because their ass has been caught out. That's what's happened. Their ass has been properly caught out. Right? And, you just have to look and think, well, hold on a minute. Right? You've known about this all this time. Because you know why? You know how they've known about it all this time? Because there's an inquiry going on right now about it. It's been going on, the inquiry's been going on since 2021. The inquiry's been going on. So today, right now, the inquiry is going on. Right now, today. Right? So, so they've known about this all this time. And, they're still letting Fujitsu get away with all this shit. It's just typical of these big companies. I mean, for example, these guys have all got little shops. I was a newsagent, so I can tell you certain things like, if you've got something like the lottery in your shop, that's 5%. So on a £2.50 ticket, it's 12.5 pence. So if you've got for example, PayPoint is between 1% and 5%. Right? And you take so much money in it. You take thousands in on PayPoint, but none of it belongs to you. Right? You're just collecting it on their behalf. And they're just saying, you know what? We're not going to give you much of it for collecting it for us. You just get pennies. Right now, if you was up to, obviously, if you're dealing in millions and you're on 1 or 2%, then that's a bit different. But when you're just dealing in like £5,000 or £10,000, you get 1 or 2%. It's like to hold all that money, right? Because people break into your shop to steal it, and then as far as PayPoint is concerned, make sure our money is in our account, right? Or you don't trade. We cut off your machine. And then what happened? When people want to buy, people want to come to your shop, they have to go to the shop up the road. And that's why all of these shops they all struggle to get you, whether it's the pay points, or whether it's the lottery, which all of these things they really fight to get, because the guy up the road's got it. And you prefer people to come into your shop and buy a packet of fags, which another thing you're not making any money on, right? Buy a packet of crisps, yeah, 25%. Buy a bag of sugar, yeah, 40%. That's where you're making your money. You're making money on the groceries, but in a little shop, you're not really selling that much groceries, right? So this is the reason why this was allowed to happen to these people, because these are just working class people, and a lot of them are Asians as well. Obviously, there's a lot of them are white, and some of them are black as well, right? But the bulk of them, I'd say the bulk of them were probably Asian. So that's why this was just allowed to happen to them. But I should speak about some Brexit, because I'm already 21 minutes in. I've got a couple. I'm doing a couple of videos today because I'm so far behind. Oh, you know what? Actually, J.P.R. Williams, rugby player, Welsh rugby player. I think arguably one of the greatest ever Welsh rugby players, passed away now a couple of days ago. I think 1 or 2 days ago. Very, very sad. And Franz Beckenbauer as well. Right now, I'm going to leave you a bit of trivia as well. Because Franz Beckenbauer is one of 3 men to have won the World Cup as a player and as a manager. I'm going to give you the answer to that in another video if I remember. But I'm sure there must be quite a few of you who can actually tell me who the other 2 are, because I think it's 2, it might be 3, but I think it's 2, because I think there's only 3. I think there's only 3 people that have ever done that, one as a player and as a manager. And then we've got Sadiq Khan believes that the British economy is £140 billion a year worse off after Brexit. Well, that's one hell of a lot of cash. I mean, that right there, he said, well, that's a lot of money, right? Because it is. I mean, that's enough to destroy economies. So we have to look at how much we used to pay to be in the EU, and it was nothing anywhere near 140 million. Yeah, so 140 billion. Sorry. So that's the money what was coming back. Our businesses was generating and all that type of thing. But that's a huge amount of money to be losing out of your economy. And you have to wonder, what is it that Brexit has ever done for the people of this country? London British musicians have already been hit hard by Brexit, with tours to the continent bogged down in work permit applications and customs paperwork. Now things are about to get even worse. A little worse. Things are going to get even worse, because you know why? A new Brexit tax hike set to hit the UK's orchestras later this year could make trips to Europe unviable. Our orchestras. What has Brexit done, right, that has been good for this country? What has it done that's been good for this country? Absolutely nothing. Anyway, guys, look, I'm going to wrap this up now, and I really do hope that you check out because I'm going to do another video. I'm going to post this virtually straight after this one. So, my friends, this is By Any Means Necessary. I'm the MC John Ribbs. It was really nice to speak to you guys. Comments below.